Well guys, today's the day. I finally get to do my LS swap. So, I did some measurements. I put about a 2-inch tolerance on each side. So, there's a firewall right there, the lowest point. And it stops at 32. And it's like right at 32. But the water pump itself stops at about 30 inches. So we got plenty of clearance, engine block wise, but I was hoping to get my motor mounts to line up with the original mounts on the frame so I can reuse them, and plus I don't have to do any extra measuring. So I did the measurements from the flywheel to the motor mounts on the LS. It is 15 inches. So if you look closely, you have 15 inches, you follow it straight down, and it lines right up with the motor mount. So that's really convenient. So the engine mount on the LS, like I said, is somewhere between 14 inches and 15 inches. That has to do with tolerance and firewall clearance with the engine block. So here you have the 14/15 inch mark, and it lines up perfectly with the motor mount. Well, close to it anyway. But don't quote me yet because I'm just doing rough estimates. But it satisfies me that it's in that 14-15 inch mark. The biggest concern I'm going to have with the motor mounts is width-wise. Will the LS engine be wide enough in order to contact these original engine mounts properly? Now I think the 360 is slightly wider than the LS because the LS is an aluminum block and this is a cast iron block, so they decided to go further out with it. So I'm going to have to look up on that a little bit more. So here you have the maximum tolerance, which is 32 inches, and it's going to be a tight squeeze, but that'll be fine. A lot of you guys are probably wondering, oh, about the clutch fan. Well, I'm not going to be using a clutch fan when I do my LS swap. I'm going to be converting to electric fan, which is a lot flatter and a lot more low profile, and it will cool down your antifreeze a lot better. So when you get ready to take your 360 out, or whatever stock engine you have when you do the swap, go ahead and disconnect your airbox, or if you have anything attached to the body itself, go ahead and disconnect that. And down here, you got your alternator wire and your alternator plug. You're going to want to unplug those, and you're going to want to unplug the negative terminal of the battery. And there's just one more part. It's really hard to do, it's really complex, so watch carefully. That was easy. And last but not least, don't forget to disconnect your low radiator hose and your upper radiator hose. And after that, your engine should be free to go. And as far as the transmission goes, in order to take it out, you're going to want to disconnect your shift linkage, your cooler lines up front, your drive shaft, and your torque converter, and your bell housing. So the bell housing has about 6 bolts that bolt up to the engine block, and I believe on the Turbo 400 there are 3 bolts that bolt the torque converter onto the flywheel. So you're going to want to take those off, and you're going to want to disconnect your cross member. And to do that, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 more on the other side. And you got these bolts in the center here holding the transmission. And you take those off and your transmission should be free to go as well. Be sure you catch as much antifreeze as you can. You don't want this getting into the environment. This antifreeze is a couple months old and it's already mucky. Okay, a couple things I forgot to mention when you're taking the motor out is I recommend you disconnect your exhaust manifolds. Coil wire, went over that. Alternator wire, went over that. Your starter wire, your brake booster vacuum line, your transmission vacuum line, and right here you have an ignition wire that goes to your distributor. You must disconnect that, and your other exhaust manifold, obviously, your fuel line, and oh yeah, your transmission line. is bolted to the bottom of the engine block where the timing chain cover is. So just loosen those 2 bolts to take both lines off. There's one on each side of the oil pan. So let's take those off and the engine should be free. And also don't forget to disconnect your power steering lines as well. Okay, so I took off the bell housing and the torque converter cover. And there are 3 bolts holding the torque converter to the flywheel. I mean, look at these things. They are so tiny. AMC, man. They have some weird designs, but I'm kind of impressed. I guess for an engine with 130 horsepower and 200 foot-pounds of torque, I guess this is all you need, so that's interesting. Alright, here it is the next day, so all I have left is those bolts on the back of the engine block holding the transmission in place, and after that, this engine should come right up. I decided to pull this one out and then end the video. Now I have 2 different parts of the video, because this video is long enough as it is, and I'll just make them separate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the hood off, and I'm going to cut this piece here and here. And if you look, there's plenty of clearance on both sides, so the engine is just narrow enough to squeeze through this opening here. So I think that's going to work out better, and I don't have to raise it as high, so I can just like raise it up a little bit and slide it right through. Okay, so I got the engine pulled, and that was somewhat easy, yet somewhat hard at the same time. Transmission is almost there. I got the cross member hanging on by a thread there. So, yeah, that's getting ready to come out. Hopefully I'll be able to reuse these, but I don't know, we'll see. So, in order to take this thing out, here's what I did. I have this chain here, and you got piston 2, 4, 6, and 8. Right side of your engine is the even number pistons, and the other side, the left side, is odd number pistons. So you're going to want to bolt the chain to the center shafts here, and the same thing on the other side. And I did that, and it was perfectly balanced. I didn't have to worry about it teetering on me. Here's the other side. Had to remove my spark plugs, kept getting caught. And use hook, the little hook piece to your hoist to this, and just lift your engine right up. So this is the spot where it landed, and this is the spot where it's going to stay for quite a while because this thing is heavy as hell. It's got to be at least 500 pounds. And luckily the LS engine won't be as hard because it's like 200 pounds less because it's all aluminum and the manifold is plastic. So that'll work out. But sorry I didn't film this because it's freaking raining because Hurricane Nate decided to stop by. So today I'm gonna go pull a transmission in the rain. So that'll be exciting. And I'll keep you guys up to date. So if you like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video. Transmission is now dropped. Transmission is now dropped. Success.